Hey, Jim Dunaway from the Next Round. We're ready to relive the weekend in Southeastern Conference football with our friends at Cowin Equipment. We're fired up for another year. Before we look back, though, let me remind you, our friends at Cowin Equipment would love the opportunity to partner with your company for your heavy equipment needs. Visit Cowin.com to find out more about how Cowin can be your heavy equipment solution, from rental and new equipment sales to great service and parts. Check out Cowin Equipment's rental fleet hit list for a wide range of well-maintained equipment from their rental fleet for sale right now. Go to the website, Cowin.com, Cowin.com. Now let's talk a little football. But as we get going with the comments in the chat room, the Auburn Guy 97 says, I'll switch records with you guys right now. Perspective is everything as we start the Monday show, but you're coming into November, most of the month left to play, a big chunk of the season and the good stuff in the postseason, where Alabama is 99.9% out of the conversation for really the first time since 20 whatever. It does seem weird for Alabama fans moving with this much of the season left.
The only thing I would say, Brown, is that Alabama finds a way to backdoor their way into playoff situations. Yeah. And I really feel good that Arkansas will beat LSU this week.
Wait a second. Is LT coming in with a ray of hope?
Oh, no. Well, I'm just saying, so if that happens, Alabama, it's hard to imagine losing back-to-back in 3 games in the regular season. I believe they beat Ole Miss. And then it comes down to Arkansas on the road at A&M. I don't trust LSU on the road at A&M.
I mean, this team's not a college football playoff team. I mean, maybe, are you suggesting?
No, I agree, but I mean, give me 4 that you feel good about. Georgia, yeah.
Ohio
State, yeah.
I'd rather watch Oregon in the playoffs than Alabama. I'd rather watch TCU in the playoffs than Alabama. This is not a good Alabama team.
Look, I don't disagree with you. We talked about it on the postgame. It's probably, as you sent out, the worst Nick Saban team since 2007.
I'd rather watch.
Technically, I didn't send that out. It was privately between all of us. But I do think.
I think we said it in the postgame.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. I think we'd all agree.
I'd rather watch a hungry team that looks like they desire to win a championship than this Alabama team. I mean, just mark me down. I know I live in the state of Alabama. Mark me down as a guy that if they backdoor it in, I'll be less than enthused about the college football playoff with Alabama in it.
Well, Alabama's losses this year are to number 5 Tennessee on the road and number 7 LSU on the road. It's not like and all on the final play of the game. Not like it's a horrible season in Tuscaloosa.
Again, Alabama's held to a different standard, though. This is a horrible season.
But they still have something to play for.
And that's what Nick Saban said after the game down in Baton Rouge. Here's the coach.
But I think everybody needs to kind of check their whole card and what we need to do to individually improve your stock to finish the season the right way, as well as have a goal of trying to win 10 games, which I think just about every team we've had since 2006 or 7 or whenever has been able to do that. I like this team. I think this team is very capable. I think we could play with a little more consistency, and sometimes we beat ourselves too much, and it's kind of hard to overcome. So tough loss, but there's nobody that feels worse about it than the players. So they work their tail off, they compete their tail off, and they just came up a little bit short.
$250,000 more dollars for the second time this year for LSU fans. It's the second time Alabama has had the field rushed on them. I assume if Ole Miss, they don't keep records for this, but I assume if Ole Miss upsets them this week,
they're on the field.
It'll be a third field rush, which would be, I assume, a college football record that somebody had the field rushed on them 3 times. Hard to imagine you would rush the field on a 3-loss team.
Yeah.
But it will happen again in Oxford if Ole Miss upsets Alabama this week. The field rushing, it doesn't mean what it used to mean, I guess.
No.
People do it more often now. There's not just a championship. But I was seeing tweets from LSU fans, a night I'll never forget. What a win. And you see the video from some of the folks up in the skybox there. Peter Burns had an amazing video. Just one of those special nights, I guess, for LSU fans to get this win.
Along with USC, I mean, LSU won the offseason getting Brian Kelly. We all agreed this is an elite coach, and it's showing in year one how they get better and better each and every game. And I said it on Saturday morning, Jaden Daniels, it's just hard to believe last year the quarterback we saw at Arizona State could roll out and beat an Alabama defense, and he did it. And for one night, he was the better quarterback for one night.
Yeah, it's just yet again the thing that seems to have not time and time again, but on and off plagued the Nick Saban era defensively at Alabama is the mobile quarterback. And that's what killed him. Jaden Daniels could have thrown the ball the way he threw the ball. You win that game. It's his running. It was those rush yards that were the difference in the game. He extended so many plays, extended so many drives, and scored the eventual game-winning touchdown in overtime with his legs.
He rebuilt a roster quickly with the portal and some of these freshmen coming in. When he's able to get what LSU can recruit in 2 years, in 3 years, they got a chance to win a championship this year. And this is nothing what Brian Kelly will have down the road, talent-wise down there. So he's a heck of a coach. Let's address something first right off the bat. Yes, big boudin balls, says Mark over there, to go for 2 there. Not as much now as it would have been in the past, because the very next, if he kicks the extra point, which is the easy cop-out way to go if you're a coach, then you're right back on the field. And from now on, you've got to go for 2. So at that point, you're saying, I'm going to go ahead and not take a chance on anything bad happening. We're going to run our best 2-point play. We got to start by the rules, which I don't like, but by the rules, the very next time you score, you got to go for 2 anyway. I love it because that is Brian Kelly saying, first of all, it's my first year. This is our culture. This is what we're establishing. We're going to go for the win. We're not afraid of Alabama. Boom, we're going to go for the win. And if he doesn't get it, you know who gets blamed? Not one player on that LSU team. Everyone actually loves Brian Kelly for doing it, but he says, I'll take the heat. I'm the guy that's making $10 million. I'll take the hit. It's not going to come down to a missed field goal and you guys are going to blame the kicker, or Jaden Daniels actually fumbling or throwing an interception or somebody dropping it. I'm making the call. It's on me, and if it doesn't work, it's on me. I admire Brian Kelly for that.
I loved it, and when they went to overtime after Alabama scored, I said, if LSU scores, they're going for 2 here. You just had that feeling.
Here's Brian Kelly Saturday night.
Before the season started, when you first took the job, you said you weren't scared to come to the SEC because you wanted games like this, you wanted challenges like this, and you said you wanted to beat Nick Saban. So what does it feel like now that, all that kind of came into fruition?
Yeah, so, that's a soundbite, right? This is really about, building a program and, doing it, week in and week out. And, we're here to graduate champions, and we want to win a championship. Now, we've put ourselves in a position where in November, we're contenders for the SEC championship. But, we've got Arkansas next. We're going to enjoy this win over the next 24 hours, and then we're going to get ready for Arkansas. So, that was a bit of a, press conference soundbite, but it's really about building a program here at LSU that can graduate its players and win championships, and that's why I'm here.
Georgia beating Tennessee was a dominant performance by Georgia. And this is before Alabama even played. Just sitting and watching a Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp coached defense and the way they took away everything from Tennessee. It started with Tennessee did not have a run game. They had a run game against Alabama, which kept the passing game effective. They couldn't run the ball on Georgia. And secondly, the aggressiveness of the Georgia defense to not give Hendon Hooker time to throw anything deep down the field. It was a perfect performance by Georgia, well coached and well played by the players. Their DBs, how many times did Hendon Hooker get sacked or have to throw it away because nobody was open downfield?
Well, look, and I thought they were getting some calls early, and I think a couple of the Keely Ringo pass interferences weren't pass interference.
100% agree with you.
Got to let those guys play. And Ringo made up for it with one of the best interceptions I've seen the entire year.
That was phenomenal.
That was
what
incredible.
coverage, man.
Yeah.
He ran the route.
It looked like, and it was a tough grab even for a wide receiver in that route. But Tennessee getting beat the way they did, because 27-13 doesn't That's not indicative of how this game actually played out. Tennessee was 2 of 14 on third downs.
Yeah.
They could do absolutely nothing offensively against this Georgia defense.
So you're saying the score not indicative? I agree. It was a bigger blowout than 27.
Yeah, Georgia lifted in the second half. I mean, that first possession of the third quarter, that was designed to burn clock. If they keep letting Stetson throw, that's like a 41-10 win.
Yeah, it felt that way.
That's what was
men and boys in that game.
so scary. If you had Georgia minus the 9.5 or 10, and Tennessee had ball in hand to possibly cover that game, that would have been a really disappointing loss based on the fact that Georgia completely dominated. You wonder what this does for Tennessee, though, because I still think there's a path in. Like, I don't think LSU can beat Georgia. And, that's a matchup we'll most likely have. But if Georgia soundly beats LSU, a couple of things happen. Tennessee can still get in.
I think Clemson losing helped Tennessee a ton, especially the way Clemson lost.
Helped the Big 12 and the Pac-12, too.
And especially if you get a little chaos in the Pac-12, which is possible with the schedule.
Very possible.
And or TCU losing, which they are underdogs against Texas this week. One of those two things happening almost locks Tennessee in.
Yeah, in fact, I'll be a little bit surprised just on the Pac-12. I'll be a little bit surprised if you get a one-loss Pac-12 champion.
I agree.
I think everybody in the Pac-12 is going to have a couple losses.
Yeah, I think Oregon's going to lose to Utah in the regular season.
Utah's already got 2 losses.
USC is going to lose to UCLA. The only thing, UCLA, you really start to look at their schedule. If they take care of USC, it'll come down to a one-game situation. I don't know if it's good enough to get in a one-loss Pac-12 champion, but by that time, UCLA's number 9 right now.
And I'm going to do it again to TCU. I think their run ends this week against Texas. I've been thinking it for a while now, but I think it runs this week against Texas.
I do it every week.
I know, totally. We've done it.
I've lost 3 straight upset alerts by taking the team they're playing.
So I think Tennessee's
We'll all be fighting for well, actually, TCU is TCU's getting a touchdown.
They're the dog. I think Tennessee's fine. In fact, if I were on the committee, I wouldn't have Tennessee out of my top 4 right now because I think they're a better team than TCU and Oregon. I think Tennessee's the better team. I'd have them in my top 4. So I think worst case Tennessee might drop out to 5, and you got to remember somebody in front of them is going to lose because Ohio State and Michigan will both be in front of them.
But for the Auburn fans out there, that 39-33 loss where Carnell was very aggressive as an interim coach, and I honestly had no problem with him being aggressive in that situation. What
else you got to lose?
Yeah, I loved him doing that. Now in the locker room, he's telling the players, "I'll take this loss. I could have settled for a field goal a couple of times." But I don't think anything's automatic with Carlson right now. You?
No, Carlson he's been shaky. Yeah, he's been shaky.
And that was huge. When you have that first possession in overtime and you don't score, whether it's a missed field goal or a turnover, it takes complete pressure off the other team.
Yeah. So, but who cares at this point? Be aggressive. What's it matter?
And he was.
This is a terrible throwaway season.
What was it? It was 24-3, Mississippi State.
That is correct,
right?
Yep.
And at that point, I really stopped paying attention for a little bit to that game because I was really afraid it was going to be 44-3 pretty quickly.
Yeah, somebody on our thread said, look, they're going to end up winning this game by 40, and it looked like that early on.
I thought it had 41-3 vibes all over it.
Yeah, but then something happened, and it was Carnell and that coaching staff and those players deciding, hey, this really isn't about anything else but playing for the names on the front and back of that jersey. And Carnell Williams talked about that after the loss in Starkville.
We said we either going to fight or quit, and we're going to see who's going to quit. And then nobody quit. I haven't experienced Auburn football in that way this year 4 for me. And the energy, the belief them kids had, man, that's just wow. Like that Auburn, like I told them guys, man, I know the Auburn family proud of them guys. They got nothing to be ashamed of, nothing.
Yeah, proud indeed, and they'll get a chance to show that. The Auburn fans will this week at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Night game with Texas A&M in town, the last big game of the year at home for the Auburn Tigers. A chance to go out and cheer on Carnell Williams.
Yeah, look, that was kind of a shot at Malzahn and both Brian Harse and most fight they've seen in 4 years. I don't disagree. That was an incredible comeback that ended up a little bit short. If you would have told me, though, that we're going to be in the middle of November, Auburn's 1-5 in conference, and they're going to be favored over A&M, something's up.
Yeah. Pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
I would not be, at the preseason would not have been all surprised that Auburn finished last in the West, which if they lose this game, they will. But the fact that if A&M loses this game, they're going to be last in the West is baffling to me.
Show being brought to you today by Cowin Equipment. They bring you the poll question. every day here on the show. Cowin Equipment, great place to start when you're looking for that rental equipment.
Yeah, look, they're proud to partner with the next round on our venture. Would love the opportunity to partner with your company for your heavy equipment needs. Visit us. Go to Cowin.com. Find out more about how we can be your heavy equipment solution, from rental and new equipment sales to superior service and parts. Cowin.com.